In this video, we are going to discuss another React hook, common React hook. So we have here use effect, okay, and lists. Okay, we're going to discuss also here how are we going to work with lists or arrays in Next.js. So before going back here on the use effect, I'm going to discuss first how are we going to work with lists, okay, or arrays here in Next.js. Okay, so I have here okay um, working with lists and use effect hook. Okay, so as you can see, we have here our output. Okay, so first is we are going to import. Okay, so since we are going to work with lists and we are going to display it on our page, so therefore we are going to use another use state. We're going to use a hook. Okay, the most common hook here in React. So we have use state. Okay, then I'm going to initialize here. Let us say I'm just going to call it my list. Okay, and set my list is equal to use state. Now, usually in our previous discussions, we have only used here the call what's this? Double quote. Why? It is because we were using strings, but this time we are going to use an array or a list. So therefore, we're going to initialize it with the square braces, which means this signifies an empty list or empty array. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to display the content of my list into my page. Okay. So first I'm going to display it with an unordered list. So I know you are all familiar with the UL. Then we're going to say li1, li2, li3. I'm just going to show it first. Okay, save. Oops. Okay, there we go again. So we're going to have use client. Okay, save. Okay, so we have there the unordered list. So I want the content of my list to be displayed here. But as you could see, we don't have any content yet into our my list. So what I'm going to do so that there will be an event that is going to fire, so that I'm going to set the content of my list. I'm going to create here a button. Okay, then we have on click is equal to I'm just going to call it fill list. Okay, so fill my list. Okay, then here we are going to const fill list. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use set. Okay, so set my list. Let us say I'm just going to display here a set of names. Let's do it this way. Okay, later on. Marcus. Then we're going to have Razi. Okay, we're just going to have only the three. Okay, so this is going to fill my list. Okay, on a button click. Okay, then I'm going to display it here. I'm just going to try it first. I'm just going to display it here without any modifications. I'm just going to display my list there. Okay, so save. Fill, so you can see there they are now being displayed. Okay, but take note here. So this is how I filled my list. So by using the method set my list or set list, okay, as I have initialized here in my use state. Okay, so we have there the my list. Then next is I'm going to have them in my UI, UL. Okay, so what I'm going to use here, my list that map. Okay, what's the definition? Okay, calls a defined callback function in its element upon returns an array that contains the result. So there will be a callback function on, take note of that here, on each element of an array and returns an array that contains the result. Okay, so I'm going to define here first is the variable. Okay, so this are callback functions. I'm going to have let us say they are students. Okay, so I'm just going to have there student, comma, no, not comma. It is a callback function. Okay, student. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return, let us say, okay, let's go directly with the list. Okay, give it there, li. Okay, so take, no, I forgot. We must have to issue the statement return. Okay, because inside this area here, it is going to return whatever are we going to write within this area. Okay, within the return parentheses. Okay, so what are we going to return? Different lists. Okay, items in our unordered list. And as I have shown you, we're going to use li. Okay, so li. Then what are we going to display in each of the lists? So we are going, take note, map is going to a callback function on each element of the array. So whatever we're going to write here, okay, or here, it is going to execute all through, for example, in our case, we have 3 items there. So it is going to execute these lines of codes, okay, for each of these elements. Okay, so therefore I'm going to say student, and take note, this student variable here stands for each of the elements there. Okay, and since return is going to return a JSX, so therefore we are going to enclose this one here with a curly brace. Okay, so what does this mean? In between our UL elements, it is going to return an LI element, okay, with the content of the student from the my list. Okay, so we have the 3 elements there. Okay, so meaning it is going to create 3 LI elements, list elements, with each of these items. Okay, save. Okay, so as you can see, we have there now Marcus, Razi, and Lanai. Okay, anyway, I'm going to refresh so that it's going to start with the fill list. When I click on the fill list, so you could see it here now, the 3 items. Okay, so that's for the UL. Okay, so how about, okay, I'm just going to comment this out. Okay, how about a table? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to enclose my map with a table element. Okay, then a table consists of a row. Okay, so take note, Actually, it is going to give us an error. I'm going to show you later the error here. We have here a table in between the two table elements. Okay, so we have here a map that returns tr elements. Okay, and by the way, inside trs is we have table data, and we have then inside the table data is we have our student. Okay, so save. Okay, so they are now inside, actually it's now within a table. Okay, so as you can see, the dots here has been removed, so meaning they are now inside a table. And as we are going to look at the page source. Okay, in our body, where is that? Button. Oh, there we have here our table. So as you can see, they are now, so we have here Marcus, Razi, and Lanai. Okay, so we have now enclosed all of them into our table. Okay, but there are times that it is going to be strict because a TR must be inside a T body. Okay, if ever it is going to tell you that, then it is you are going to have here a T body element. Slash T body. Okay, although we are going to have the same output, okay, but as you can see from the table, so the TRs are now inside our T body. Okay. Okay, so we just concentrate with our table. Okay. So next is, how about if ever we are going to add, okay, so elements into our array. Okay, so if there, we're just going to leave our field list there. Then I'm going to create an input element. No, it's not checkbox. Name, I'm going to add here const. Okay, because we are going to let the user to enter a name, then click a button, and it's going to add that name into our list. Okay, placeholder is equal to enter a name. Okay, then value is equal to name, and on change. Okay, the event, then set name, and that target that value. Okay. Then we're going to have a button, then on click is equal to, I'm going to have add to list. Okay, add to list is not defined, so we're going to define it here. Const add to list. Okay, save. I'm just going to look at first how it is going to appear into our page. Oh, okay, save it there. Oops. from my field list. Wait. Okay. Field list. Let's wait. Okay, so we have the 3 items. Now, if ever I'm going to enter a value here, let us say Pitok, and when I click on the add to list, it should add the list here. Okay, or the name. It is going to add the name into our current list. Okay, so we're going to have set my list. Now, if ever I'm going to have name, okay, so take note. In my add to list, I still use set my list as stated into my initialization with my use state here, but I am setting now with the value of the newly inputted name, which is name here. As you could see, we have the value here as the name. Okay, I'm going to save it. Refresh. Okay. Field list, so we have it there now. Then I'm going to have Pitok, then click to add to list. Take note what happened. We now only have Pitok. And if ever I'm going to have field list again, so it is always overwritten. Okay? So what are we going to do so that it would not be overwritten here in our add to list? Because actually, I'm just simulating here in supposedly when the page is loaded, automatically the list would have, it could automatically have its list content or 0. Okay, it would be coming from a database, from an API, or from something, anything else. Okay, so what I want is that this is not going to overwrite, okay, the content there. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Is we are going to use the spread operator. Okay, so then my list, then comma. So when you say spread operator, okay, spread operator, meaning for example, we have here our list. Okay, so if ever we're going to make it this way, it is going to return. It's not going to. It is not going to return an error, but this would be one element and another element there. Okay, so if ever you're going to use a spread operator, it is going to remove this one here. Okay, it is going to remove the square braces. So that is why we have now a new list with the current content and the new one. Okay, so that is why here we are going to have then my list. Okay, so save. Pitok. I have here now Pitok, then add to list. So as you could see, we have here now Pitok is now added into our list. For example, merchants. Okay, add to list. So we have here now merchants. Okay, so that's how are we going to add an element into our list. Okay, so this is now I'm just going to save this one because I'm going to have this one into your source code later on. Okay, so next, okay, sige. Let's go now with our, I'm going to have now my, Okay, use effect. Okay, because again, as I have said a while ago, I want that when the page starts, okay, or loads, okay, automatically without, okay, it is going to fill our list, because what I am doing now is that I am going to click first on the button before it will be filled. Okay, so it's going to wait for an button click event before it is going to be filled. What I want is when the load or when the page loads, okay, automatically it is going to be filled and display whatever is the content. Okay, so there goes now the use effect. Okay, powerful tool for managing side effects, okay, and handling component life cycle events. So we have here life cycle, component life cycle events. So the life cycle would be uh, did on mount, okay, when I forgot them. Um, did here component example component did mount, okay, for the class components, okay, meaning when uh, so that you could understand it easier, okay, in layman's term, when the page loads or loaded, okay, so component did mount, okay, that's one of the life cycles, okay, in a functional component. It could be when fetching data. Okay, for example, we're going to fetch data from the database, so it would take some time. So therefore, we're going to use effect again. Clean up, clean way to manage state side effects. Or some states are going to be changed and it is unmounted. Okay, but anyway, our concern now is component did mount or when the page is loaded. Okay, what does it do? Allows to perform side effects. So when you say side effects, is we have the data fetching, data manipulations, and subscriptions into our components. And it's called every time any state or prop in the dependency array is modified or updated. When something has been changed, for example, we're going to say, we are going to watch out or listen, or let's say we're going to watch for the changes for a certain variable. So we're going to use, again, use effect. Okay, so there are a lot of uses for use effect, but the very first usage that we're going to have is uh, the operations that are going to take place as soon as the page is loaded. Okay, so we have here our syntax. We have a use effect, then we have a callback function with the dependencies. Okay, this is the second argument. So we have here the second argument, and any of the dependencies change, the effect will run again. So any of these changes, okay, so the dependency here, whatever commands have been written here, will run again. Okay, if you pass an empty array, okay, the effect runs only on the initial render or when the page is loaded. Okay, if ever the dependency here is blank. Okay, so that you could understand it further, we are going to apply it into our case. Okay, so we have here my field list. So I'm going to remove now my button. Okay, I have to remove my button so that refresh. So we don't have the list now, so there's no way for me to add or to display those lists because I don't have now the button. So what I want is automatically it is going to display there. Okay, by using now we have the use effect. Okay, so we could have here the snippet or just this one, then okay, so we have here, take note, this is what we call SR callback function, the first argument, and the second argument is an array of dependencies. Okay? But it is said, if ever there are no dependencies or there are no variables inside the dependencies array, so meaning this whatever are we going to write here would be executed only on the first render of the page. So in that case, I'm going to call here add to list. Okay, actually we could also get the set my list there, and we are going to have it here. Oh, not add to list, but it is fill list. Okay. Okay, let's try. So as you could see, they are now automatically displayed. Okay. Why it is because we have here now our use effect. Okay. And same if ever I'm going to add more jumps. So here we have now added the more jumps. Oops. Okay, so that's how we're going to work with this very simple list. And by the way, if ever you want to have some borders and so on, so just use the bootstrap, okay? Or you could use any CSS that you like, okay? Anyway, what I want you to take note is we have now displayed the content of our list into this one. Anyway, I'm going to have a very simple style here. Style, so that you could see that it is really inside. It is inside our table. Okay, so we have border, then 1px, then solid, and the color would be, I think that's it. Okay, so as you can see, it is now inside our table. Okay, so next is I'm going to modify. Instead that we are going to have this one here, okay, I'm going to have an object, list of objects. Name, let us say these are students, so therefore I'm going to have the name and let us say their balance, 10,000. Then we have another student, name and balance, then 5,000, and the last, oops, name and balance, 3,000. Okay, so looks familiar, right? It looks like a JSON string, but anyway, never mind JSON first. Okay, so we're going to have, so let us say it when we, again, when you say the content of the list, it is possible this could be coming from the database. Okay, so I'm just showing it here now, and it is filled actually during our use effect. Okay, then after that, I want it to be displayed. By the way, I want it to be I want to have also input a number, enter balance, then oops, we're going to use the value should be balance and set balance. Okay, so therefore we're going to have another variable. Okay, for we have the balance and set balance. Use state and with the initial value of 0 since this is a number. Okay, save. Oops. Okay, save it there. Okay. So I am now having an error here. Okay. So objects are not valid as React child. Why? It is because object with key, okay, name and balance. Because where? Okay. What did we input here is only the student. Okay, wherein my list now contains name and balance for each of the elements. So therefore, we must have to specify here and to have that name. Okay, since we are still with a single column, so we have there the three values. So what about if ever I want to display here also their respective balances? Okay, so I'm just going to copy this one. So instead student.name, I'm going to have student.balance. Okay, so I have there now our balance. By the way, if ever I'm going to go back to our console, okay, it gives me an error. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Actually, even though when we were still on the unordered list, we already have this error. Okay, because each item or each child in a list should have a key prop. Okay, property. So in this case here, because the first in our callback function, okay, so the parameters here is the student. Okay, the first parameter would be the value. Take it here. The value meaning each element in our array. And the second element is index, which is a number. So I'm going to have here an index. Okay. So if ever that in our example, in our array, we don't have a unique value here. But if ever we have, let us say we have an ID here, so we could use that ID as our key. Okay, but as of now, I'm just going to have the index as our key. Okay, so I'm going to have that into my tr. Okay, so here key is equal to, we have our index. Save. Okay, I'm going to remove that, then refresh. As you could see, the error has been removed. So as you could see here now, oops, we have the names of the students and we have it here for their balances. Okay, so next is when we are going to add. Okay, so as you could see, we don't have any values there. Okay, because we are still going to modify our add to list. Okay, save it here. So still we have the my list, meaning the current content of the list, and we're going to create a new list or add a new, or not list, but it is an object. Okay, so here name, then by the way, don't be confused, because I have here name, then I have there also name. So the first name here is actually this one here. Okay, because we are going to follow the format of each of the items in our list. So we have there name, then whatever would be the value of the name. Okay? And balance, then the same variable name, so we have balance. So don't be confused with this one here. I think I'm going to I'm just going to have it this a stud name and stud balance. Okay? So that here student that stud name and stud balance. Okay, same student. And here should be stud balance and the value should be stud name. Okay, so as is we have the set name because I didn't change it with the set name. Okay, so here we have name then space the value inputted by the user, which is stud name. Okay, then comma balance. Balance is actually this one here and the one inputted by the user, so we have stud balance. Save. Okay. Oops. Refresh. There was an error. Okay. Oh no. Oh, it should always be still name. This is my error. I should follow the one that is written into my list because the stud is for my use state, for my state variables. Save. Okay, so we have them now. Okay, so I'm going to have merchants, then 100, then add to list, so we have there now merchants. Okay, so we have Kulas 1000, add to list, then we have okay. Last is we are going to have okay, the total balance. Okay, so what I want is I'm going to have const total balance, then set total balance. Use state, then we have 0. Okay, and I want to display that at the bottom below the table. I'm going to have, let us say, h3, then total balance, then space total balance. Save. So you can see it there, we have 0. Okay. So how are we going to get our total balance? I'm just going to have it here. Const get total balance. Okay, so we have the old school, let's say var total is equal to 0, and the good old my list, we have the for each. Okay, so for each, then I'm going to have here balance, student then leave it here. Return total. Okay. So again, for each student, so we are going to total is equal to we're going to have plus equal student dot balance, then return our total. Okay. So when are we going to call get total balance? Okay. So let us say, you might say, okay, so we are going to have that when a value has been added, or you might say after. Okay. Save. Still we have 0, but let's say I'm going to try, okay, pitok 100. Okay, add, still we don't get the total balance. Why? Because I called only here. I'm getting a bit here. I called only the get total balance, but it did not update my total balance there. Okay, so what are we going to do here is I'm going to have set total balance with the value returned by the function get total balance. Okay, save. Okay, add. So you could see there now 1 0 1 0 and so on. Okay, what it is doing, it is just actually concatenating it. So therefore we are going to change get total. Okay, we are going to have parts. Since this is money, so we're going to have the float. Float means decimal. It has decimal value. So save, refresh. Oh, 1,000, 18,100, 18,200, and so on. Okay. How about into our use effect? So I want that when we are, when we have, or when the initial list has been displayed, it will already display the total balance. But what is happening now is that it is only displaying 0. Okay, so let us try to follow also here. Save. Okay, but the problem here is that it is not changing its value. Okay, so why? It is because this is what happened in our use effect. So we have here our field list. When we have our field list here, so it added or it updated our list. But what I want you to take note is that in use effect, it is asynchronous in nature. Okay, so meaning it is not going to wait for this one to finish until it is before it is going to execute the second one. Okay, so it is still filling the list, but it is now getting also the total. So therefore the list has no content yet, but then the balance has been computed. That is why we have 0. Okay, so that falls now to our second, into our dependencies for the second argument for the use effect. If any of the dependencies change, the effect will run again, meaning this one here. The command will run again, or this effect. Okay, so we must have to specify here that if ever our list is going to change, so therefore it is going to run this one again. Okay, so therefore, but how are we going to put it here? So if ever we're going to put it here, then it is just going to call, it would be a perpetual loop that is going to happen here. Why? Because it is going to change the my list, and if ever we're going to have here our my list, okay, so meaning if ever the content of the my list is going to change, it is going to execute this one again. Okay, so therefore we should not have our my list into that use effect, because here we could also, or we could actually use more than one use effect. Comma, then we have our is there. Okay, so we are just going to get our set total balance there, or with our dependency as our my list. So what does this mean? It means that every time my list is going to change, it is going to call this effect. Okay, so when will our my list is going to change? First, on the initial load. I'm just going to call it the initial render. Why? It is because it is blank. And this use effect here is called when my list changes. Okay, it could be update, it would add or lessen or minus the size or the number of elements. It is going to execute this one here. And actually, if ever you have another parameter, you could have it here. Meaning, if any of these two parameters or variables are going to change, it is going to execute this one here. But again, that's case to case. Okay, so therefore, since I already have here the call for the set total balance, so I could now remove this one here, because add to list or set my list is also going to change the content of my list. So therefore, again, it is going to call the second use effect. Okay, so save, refresh, wait for it, then we have now the 18,000. Okay, so I have ptok, then 100, add to list, so you could see 18,100, then up here, see more jumps, let us say 5,000, then add to list, so we have this one now. Okay, so I hope you get you followed thoroughly. Okay, anyway, if ever I'm a little bit fast, okay, so just review this video. Okay, so that's our initial discussion for this, because we still have actually, oh, I forgot, I could, as I've said, okay, this is the good old way on how are we going to traverse for each of the elements and get what on manipulate each, whatever manipulation are we going to do with each of the elements. But then in this case, if we are just going to get the total, okay, so we have, I'm just going to return my list, we have another method named reduce. Okay, calls to provide callback function for all elements in the array. Still, it is going to execute for each elements in the array. The return value of the callback function is accumulated result. So therefore, it is where it is. Okay, it is not an array. Now, with map, it is going to return an array, but reduce, it is going to return, where is it? The reducer, okay, accumulated result. Okay, so when you say accumulated, meaning add, we could add, for example, we're going to add the balance, so the accumulated or the total balance. Okay, so callback function, there are two parameters. So we have the callback function and the initial value. So we have here our reduce. Okay, so this is, by the way, the callback function. Okay, then we have comma 0. 0 would be the initial value for the accumulator. So that's why we have here accumulator, and I'm going to have the student, okay, or the record. Then here, for each of the elements, I'm going to have the accumulator plus, okay, student dot balance. But anyway, this is going to just concatenate. So parse float the balance. Okay, so as simple as this, a one-liner command compared with this one here, and they are doing the same. Okay, so here we have initialized two variables, the accumulator and the student. Okay, the student there, meaning the record for each of the student in our list. Then in our function, we have here the accumulator, or the sum or the total in our example there, plus the balance for each of the item. Okay, so save. Actually, we are going to have the same result, Marcham's 5,000. So we have now, oh wait, that reduce accumulator, save. Wait, I'm just going to refresh. Wait. Oh, I guess save. Okay, refresh. Oh, it's the curly braces. We took 1018, 19. Okay. Okay, so better use this one here compared with the for each. Anyway, for each could still be used for some other operations. Okay. So what we have for today is some basic operations of list and use effect for the side effects. Okay, so that's all for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.